Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, failed a class because of you, no house for you. The police suggested the revenge. A coworker was apparently sexist against our boss, so I let him drown. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Failed a class because of you, no house for you. I was a low-level professional soccer player while I was in college. At least once a semester I would go off and play in a tournament for a couple of weeks. What was supposed to be my last semester, I took a class with a group of friends. In this class, we had a huge group project that was for a majority of our final grade. My group was 2 friends, Crystal and Dee, some woman named Tia, and an acquaintance named Carla. Knowing I would be traveling from the end of March to mid-April, I decided to do all of my parts for the group project early. Basically, our project was a study of a public hospital's expenses. Over the span of 3 weeks, I conducted 5 interviews with different hospital administrators and a board member. I was accompanied by another group member for only one of the interviews. The rest I did by myself. I wrote the transcripts, created my reports, and the subsequent analyses from each of the interviews. By doing most of the work for the project, I was made project leader. I wrote the introduction and the beginning of the body. All in all, I had about 60 pages written out for our final report, as well as the 5 videotapes of the interviews. Then I left for my tournament. I told the rest of my group to email me if they needed anything and to keep me abreast with how the project was going. This class was also being instructed by the flakiest professor in the college. He was tenured and also a former political powerhouse. He barely had class. He had no set syllabus. He used the same syllabus for all of his classes with no specific dates for projects and exams. But having taken his classes a couple of times prior, one gets to know his schedule. He was also informed of my travel dates in writing and via email. Well, upon my return, I tried to contact the group several times, texts, calls, and emails. No reply from any one of them. I went to class, and it was cancelled. No one even showed up, so this must have been planned. I am still trying to get in contact with my group and still no one is answering me or replying. At this point, I am starting to get frustrated. I go to the next class. I found out my group is going to present our project. Here is the kicker, I am no longer part of the group. According to Carla, they thought that I was not coming back to class because I was gone for so long. I told her that I have been calling and texting everyone since I got back in town. They also knew my schedule since it was emailed to all of them as part of the project schedule. During my absence, Carla made herself the project leader since she was the oldest in the group. It is the same exact project. My material was still the bulk of the work done for the project. The entire report was 72 pages long, and that is including the cover and source pages. My original 60 pages was still my original work, they did not even alter it to make corrections. During the presentation, they even used clips from my interviews. But they did not even clip out the parts they needed. They just had the interviews pulled up in 5 different windows and played the clips from where they were time-stamped from my notes. You could even hear my voice each time they played a video, because they started each clip from where I ask a question. I held my tongue till after the presentation, because I knew none of them did any of the work they were supposed to have done. And by quickly perusing the conclusion of the report, they did not understand what the project was supposed to be about. My first question was the names of the people interviewed, none of them knew their names. My second question was what was the purpose of the report? Carla tried to BS the answer with, to fire the hospital administrator, because he was spending too much money. I asked her specifically what was hospital administrator's name. She spouted out, Mrs. Cruz. I answered, "It was not Miss Cruz, she the procurement director." The hospital administrator was Dr. Bill McMillan, and that she should have known this since she was the one accompanied me to his interview. They ended up getting a passing grade, and my professor failed me due to a lack of group project. I tried to appeal my grade since my work was used in a project and used without my permission. I went all the way to the university president, who got a compromise with the professor to give me a final exam. I aced it, but still the damage was done. I was allowed to retake the course again at no charge the following semester. I even used the same exact project. I don't think he even noticed or cared. I passed. I graduated. Crystal and Dee tried to reconcile with me, but I was done with them. Tia saw me the next semester and said she was sorry for what she did. I told her that I had no hard feelings against her. Carla and I met up again later in life. She was at a public housing office and saw me come in. She immediately got up and intercepted me. She asked me how I was doing. You know, after failing that class and not graduating from college. I told her that I did eventually graduate. I also congratulated her on her graduation. She said, "Yeah, thanks to you." I replied, "I know." She goes on to tell me how she has a really good job. Continues by telling me how she is making so much money. I say good for you, and then she gets called to the back. I am going about my business when I get a phone call from an advisor in my Housing Choice Voucher program. He is telling that there is someone here saying that they know me from college. I come down and he starts to introduce me as the director for the program before I come around the corner. It was Carla, and she was renewing her paperwork for the HCV program. I greet her as she looks like she swallowed a cactus. Apparently, she has been in the program since college. But she never updated her income status. I told my advisor to take a closer look into it. You know, since she told me she has such a great job and is making so much money now. Yup, she did not qualify to be in the program anymore. The police suggested the revenge. This happened to a friend of mine years ago, and me as well, but he did the revenge. I lived in a small village by the sea. Most people had a small boat with an outboard motor. People were not poor, but far from rich. Someone began stealing gas from the boats on multiple occasions. Lots of people got livid. They lost their gas, of course, but even worse was that several ran out of gas far from shore, potentially very dangerous. A friend of mine went to the local police and got to talk to the chief of police and got the following advice. Fill a can with gas, mix it with sugar, and put the can in your boat. My friend got a bit concerned and asked if this was illegal and could get him in trouble. It is not illegal to mix sugar and gas. It is your gas. If someone steals it, is no problem of yours. If the thief files a complaint, you can rest assured that I will follow it up, regarding all the thefts. And so he did. A nice brand new can filled to the brim with gas and lots of sugar. The can was gone the day after. Fast forward a week. The local engine repair shop got a pretty new 120 horsepower engine in for repair. As said, a small village, so after checking up on the engine, it was easy for the mechanic to put two and two together. The mechanic told the customer that the engine was beyond repair, a lie I guess, and that the customer should contact the police, because this was sabotage. The police got no complaint. Of course, the story went viral in the small community. The thief was until then a well-respected person. The moving van showed up a few months later. A coworker was apparently sexist against our boss, so I let him drown. This happened about a decade ago at another company. Some details changed for anonymity, all names are fake. I was encouraged to share by a buddy. I worked in a decently sized team of engineers. Me and another guy we will call John were junior in the team, and from a similar cultural backgrounds, which I guess he took to mean that we were destined to be friends, lol. For a few weeks or a month or two, it seemed that we were in the honeymoon phase of a new job and relationship. Meeting up with our newly minted work friends and learning a lot, and making silly mistakes, laughing them off, and staying late to fix them. Typical new job stuff. Our team was strong and we had good senior engineers who were honestly probably some of the best professionals I've met in a while, since they provided the rare mix of guidance and space to help us and point us in the right direction, but not do things for us. The only unusual thing about our team was, our boss is a lady, we'll call her Kate. Nothing wrong with that obviously, it's just that that specific company at that specific location at that specific time had almost no women. Now, being a normal, healthy person, I barely noticed and certainly didn't care about Kate's gender. She was a very good boss who I got along with great, maybe since we have similar personalities, and frankly, she was the reason I stayed at that job long after I had hit my ceiling there, lol. Anyway, in time, I noticed that John did not seem to respect Kate or take her seriously. He'd be more likely to listen to male, senior engineers and pay attention. In fact, at one point, we had a meeting with Kate that he happened to miss, where she gave us some direction. I personally didn't agree with the idea, and didn't think it was the best way to do things or would even work, so when we later had a small meeting with John, a senior engineer named Mike who explained the way forward to start the meeting, and another guy working on that part of our task, I raised my concerns and explained why I wasn't confident about it. John basically laughed at me and said that Mike knew what he was doing, and my concerns were all overblown. I was so shocked by him throwing me under the bus in public like that. When we were supposedly friends, all I remember doing is kind of staring at him and then explaining, well, actually, it was Kate's idea. He got quiet and kind of awkward and said, oh. And then, believe it or not, he actually asked me to reiterate my concerns, and took them a lot more seriously. For the record, I was mostly wrong and Kate was right. My only win was tweaking a tiny part of what we did, which worked pretty well. This was the first time that I began to believe that John actually had a problem with Kate due to her being a woman. Before that, we were still new in the job and he had kind of a funny personality where he'd act really high energy and extroverted, like he was constantly faking it. I began to pay a lot of attention to the rare occasions he interacted with women, and, yep. Talking to the big boss's admin assistant, rude and dismissive. Ignores the front desk lady's good morning. We go out for lunch, mean to the waitress, who is just a kid. Eventually, I had a one-on-one with Kate, and kind of danced around my concerns with John. I did not directly say that I thought he had a problem with women and kind of saw them as not worthy of the same respect that he gave to men, but she caught on and basically said that she is aware and has dealt with it before, and it just comes with the neighborhood in this industry. Well, that's not going to do at all, I said to myself. By now, John's attitude had devolved pretty significantly. He began to act like he was the big man and was now better than our initial friendship. He'd hang out with the senior engineers and make loud edgy jokes, spend a lot of time at the coffee machine, just laughing and currying favor with others, while I was busy working. More than once, he tried to offload his work onto me and more than once he succeeded, because I am living doormat, laughing face. Even so, I had a plan, and it was, if I can flatter myself, beautiful in how simple it was. We got a few new tasks from Kate. These were pretty complex and technical in nature, and to be honest, were not something a newbie could just do alone. You'd need to ask a lot of questions and do a lot of talking to seniors and other stakeholders before you can get to a decent answer. For similar tasks in the past, I'd simply set up meetings for John and I to meet with others, and take notes, come up with future actions, etc. Just figured I was being a good team player by being responsible and seizing efficiencies, etc. But, I realized at some point, it had the effect of me mostly doing the annoying legwork for John, and a lot of the technical work, too. Imagine conversations like, hey dude, can you show me how to make this Excel thing work, and then I go off and basically do it for him. Anyway, what I did was simple. I did not help John. I did not set up meetings for his project, just mine, or I met with seniors and chugged through my stuff. I didn't walk over to John's desk to ask him about advice for my project or see where he was with his. At one point early on, he did ask me how to calculate something which I didn't know off the top of my head, so I said that, I don't know. I met with Kate and a few seniors to present my project. I'd like to say I knocked it out of the park, but honestly, there were significant problems lol. Still, they seemed pleased by my efforts, and mostly that I had an 80% solution in 50% of the time. Word to the wise: don't let perfect be the enemy of good, and there is value with providing a mostly but not totally complete project to your boss, to make sure you're on the right track and giving them some job satisfaction by letting them put that final polish on it. I got kudos, and that was that. Couple weeks later, the actual project due date is bearing down on us. John starts freaking out and asking me where I am with mine, and how I did it, and I casually say, "Oh yeah dude, I finished that ages ago and presented it," and he looks at me like I'm an alien, lol. He asks me for my material, which I gladly point him to, which didn't help him much since our projects were pretty different. Again, he tries to bug me to do his work for him, but again, I simply say, I don't know. I didn't actually attend the meeting that I'm told followed. From what I heard, it was obvious that John not only executed very poorly, he simply hadn't put much effort into it. And, when Kate asked him questions and stuff in the meeting, remember, she was his boss, he was nasty and dismissive, and tried to get the seniors on the team to join him in ganging up on her, which didn't work, because again, she was the boss. He might have hung around for another month or two before he was out. Never asked if he quit or was fired, never heard, and don't really care. I just found him on LinkedIn and it appears that his career languished for a while after that. Meanwhile, Kate was promoted a few times and so was I, until I became a senior engineer, where I hit my ceiling as described, lol. She continued to be an excellent boss, even while I went through some pretty nasty personal business, and we have kept in touch over the years. So, the morale of the story is, women are people too, including when they are your boss. Treat people respectfully and don't neglect your job duties, or else I will simply let you drown. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.